So this talk is clone yourself through automation. Hopefully this is the talk you're expecting. If not, you probably want to be across the hall. My name is Jocelyn Mozak. I come from Portland, Oregon, so I flew in to be with you guys today. I myself own a web design agency that I've had for 11 years. Didn't start out that way. Like most of us, we turned to accidental business owners. Started off as a freelancer, about 5 years in, was getting really busy, started building my team. Fast forward to the 10 years later and we have ourselves an agency. Now I'm not going to be able to help you clone, I don't know AI unfortunately, biology, all that stuff. But what I am going to share with you is how I have leveraged automation in my business to make my business more efficient, to buy back those hours, to essentially clone myself, and to create a consistent product through my business. What I'm going to do in this talk is take you through the life cycle of a web design. Everything from that initial email of, so how much does a website cost? To launching the site, and then the follow-up period where we have a customer that loves us and how to leverage that to get new business. If you follow me, and they may very well be sharing the slides anyways, but just follow me on Twitter, or you can find me on Facebook as well. I'll share out the slides, so that way you guys don't have to take notes. You can just focus on the presentation and asking me questions along the way or at the end, whatever feels right. So here we go. You get this lovely email. So how much does a website cost? And we all know the answer, right? It depends. I'm going to need just a little more info from you. And so our objective, let's let them come in, door closed, feel better. Our objective is to go from that initial email to our sales call with minimal effort. And so what we're going to do is when someone sends us an email of how much it costs, we're going to reply with an email of how much it costs. And it's going to say something like this. Thank you for reaching out. To provide an accurate estimate, I'm going to need just a little more information. Here's a link to my project request form. So we're already starting to build in automation. We're sending them to a form on our site. And instead of responding with questions and all of this stuff, we send them to our form, and I'll share my form with you as we go, where I ask them key questions that help them self-select as to whether they're a good fit for my agency, especially in the financial budget space, and gives me key information that allows me to have a more effective sales call when they get to it. The email continues on. Once completed, you'll be taken to my scheduling page where you can select a time from my calendar that works with your schedule. So you can see I've got this calendar thing here that's going to somehow magically know what my availability is, and then they can get what they want. I look forward to learning more about your project.
Okay, what are we doing?
Jocelyn Mozak.
Okay.
So how are we going to do this? And I just have kind of cues in here. Green is where you're taking an action. You'll see the others in blue. That's when the system's just kind of flowing. And so we're going to simply respond to an email with an email, but we're going to use the canned email. So if anyone uses Gmail, they have canned emails. How many times have you caught yourself retyping the same darn message? Stop it. Instead, you just simply, and I'll show on the next slide, select the canned email, done, hit send, it's over. It goes on to our form, which just uses the form software on my website. And I like to, you'll see I tag projects along the way. This is kind of like using it like a CRM, but not quite. I happen to use ActiveCampaign, you could use MailChimp. But what I like to do, and I'll just click one more to show the difference, for the scheduler, well, yeah, I'll just go here. So for the scheduler, I use BookMe, use Acuity, and then with the scheduler, it connects with my Gmail and their Gmail, so it automatically knows my availability. I let them know this is all going to be about a 20-minute meeting, and these are the days that I do sales calls, so it's already kind of pre-got my calendar down. I'm not emailing back and forth for times. It'll send out a reminder. I do all my sales calls in Zoom. It'll automatically set up a Zoom link, send it to them, send it to me, put it in my calendar, put it in theirs calendar, done. And so we've gone from them replying to their email to a sales call schedule. Now there's some other stuff that can happen in here. We tag them as the project request submitted. Let's say 3 days later, they haven't scheduled it on the calendar. And I know that they scheduled it on the calendar because of this tag. I could send them a little email saying, hey, thanks for submitting the project request form. Here's a link again to get on my calendar so we can talk about this. If times aren't working, shoot me an email, we can have that conversation if that's the case. And so I use that tag for that information. Obviously, if they scheduled the call, that email never goes out. I do have, people often ask, my project request form does fly by my inbox. I actually had one fly by my inbox yesterday, and it gave me key information, which basically said, your expectations and your budget are really not aligned for what we do. And so, although they got on my calendar, they're not probably gonna stay on my calendar, and I just used another canned email which effectively says, we got a discrepancy here. Like, love hearing about your project, great stuff. Unfortunately, my builds start at this range and it feels like there's a discrepancy here. I might still have to speak with you, but this is the investment. Typically when you respond with that and they're like, oh, sticker shock, they get off my calendar. And that's fine, I don't want to waste their time, I don't want to waste my time. So to kind of step into the nuts and bolts of how we do this, again, Gmail, really easy, here's a link. It's already built in, you just enable this, and then what you can do is next time you write that email, catch yourself doing it and save it. And so when you get the how much does it cost, you go down here, you select your canned response, there it is, and done. Hit send and move on your merry way. And then they're sent to the project request form where they've got the usual, name, email, phone, URL, company, but there's some fun questions in here. How did you learn about us? How many people forget to ask? Who always are like, oh, I should have asked them. Was this a referral? Was it a Google search? How did they find me? So we just build it in so it's there. Are you the key decision maker for this project? This is important. And believe it or not, people are honest about this. If someone's just, going doing research, but they're not the decision maker, that's not the sales call I want to have. And I'll let them know, I need all decision makers on that call. And so that might reschedule it. So I do keep an eye on what comes through. How do you envision this project impacting your business? Really good for sales calls. Why now? Your site has probably been looking like it looks for 2 years. Why now? Is it that suddenly you've got something new coming out? Are you selling the company? What is the thing that is making today the day you've decided, I've had enough, I want a new site? That is exactly what you're going to speak to when you have the conversation, because you figured out and you sort of know what's going on in their world. And then this one, although that guy who emailed me didn't get the cue when he saw mini project, I like to go and have budget ranges to really set my boundaries. How low will I go? What is the smallest thing I will even accept in my business? And I intentionally name it mini project. How high do I want to go? I happily right now do sites up to 20, 30,000, but I don't want higher than that. So if they want a $100,000 site, they're going to see this and pre-select off, which is actually fine. I don't have the desire to plan those, in that right now. I have my sweet spot. I specialize in doing service-based websites that tend to always, I know in my business how long it takes to do the graphics. I know in my business how long it takes to do the build out. I know how to convert them onto maintenance plans for reoccurring revenue to anyone who is in the top prior. I know that is my sweet spot. And with my form, I pre-select that. So already expectations are set. Like, here is my sweet spot price point for a build. And so they're intentionally moving away from it either up or down. And so I like to kind of just do that because most people, I don't get tire kickers. I mean, I am shocked someone emailed, I haven't gotten like anything under a couple thousand in a while now. I was like, yeah, no. But it gives that context. And so mini project is essentially that. That would be something where, it's an add-on. But build, it should be pretty clear, this is our sweet spot of what we do in our agency. This is the scheduling form, so I happen to use Book Me, and so they can pick the time that works for them. I also have the form automatically send them the same information just in case they clicked off the page. Really easy to embed in your site. So we've gone from the email, they've gotten through kind of our filter, we've scanned and we've said, okay, you can stay on my calendar. Now we're going to have the sales call and we're going to write the proposal. I don't know how to automate the sales call unless you hire someone, sorry. And our goal now is to go from our proposal to our kickoff meeting, basically meaning they sign the proposal, let's get this project started with minimal effort. And so what we're going to do is we're going to send the proposal, If for some reason it goes unsigned for whatever period of time feels right to you, then you'll send them a kind of a follow-up. Once it's signed, collect the deposit, send the onboarding email, and schedule a kickoff call. And so how can we automate these pieces? Well, green again is work you're doing. I'm sorry I can't get you out of that. I hate it too. I agree with the person who presented before. For some reason I can't stand proposals. Yeah, I know, isn't it crazy we dance around something that we're not getting out of and we should just sit down and do it? I like to use online proposal software. I use Better Proposals. It gives me an opportunity to, it lets me know when the client has viewed the proposal, what pages they've viewed, how long they've been on it, and you can get a little peek into the world. And then whenever I send out the proposal, I know the proposal is sent because I use my tag. I also know once they sign it, the proposal's been signed. This gives me that window to say if it's been, let's say, a week, I can send something along the lines of, I'm planning out my next X weeks and, schedule's kind of getting tight. So if you want to get your website built by us, you might want to, sign the proposal. In a much more, elegant way, but essentially do that. And again, this is all automated. So all I focus on is sending the proposal out. And then I am still doing my thing. It's going to follow up with them. And then Better Proposal will automatically send them over anyways to pay the deposit through Stripe. So that automatically happens without me whipping up an invoice. And then because I got proposal signed, then what we do is we automatically use our Active Campaign or whatever to trigger an email that goes out that says, yay, we're so excited. And the nice thing is that email gives them the instant gratification. So they sign the proposal, you delay it at most a day. It could be the weekend, you could be doing whatever, but you're on that, they feel nurtured because you just immediately sent them, we're so excited, we can't wait. And oh, by the way, schedule a kickoff call. I bet you know where that link's going. It's another calendar. This time it's a 50-minute meeting instead of a 20. And so this I just found has really streamlined things and just gives them the immediate touch points and just really has helped enormously. Did I just? Oh, okay. It's like what changed. So here's the final one. Dear client, we're so excited. But we need to do it to be working on your website. Here's the kickoff call. And that again uses a calendar and all of the goodies. And again, same type of thing. Kickoff call scheduled. So if we go from proposal sent to the kickoff not called and it's been too long, we're going to send a follow-up like, hey, we're excited. What's happened? You gave us the money. We're really excited, but we figure we should do something for you now. I know, wouldn't it be great if they could just send the money and leave us alone? So now this next slide is what started this entire presentation, and it's where my background as an electrical engineer, this is where my geekiness comes out. We're going to add them to our systems. And our goal is to get them in our systems. So to anyone who's, over time you get more and more involved. And as an agency, we have numerous things. When someone comes in, we put them into our invoicing system. We create a Dropbox folder for them. We have a Slack channel for internal communication. We have time tracking. We have to-do tracking, all of these things. And what I realized was they all take effectively the same information. Really, most of these just want to know who's the client, what's the name, the email, the company, and then name the project. And so this to me is the ultimate of automation. We go from one form on our website, we use Zapier, which I'll share on the next slide, and magically we set everything up. One form, one action, 5 things done. Correctly, consistently, every single time. Yeah. Thank you to whoever said, wow, the happy dance I do every single time this executes. Because it has made my system cleaner than ever. And so this is just my form, it's again, the name, email. I have actually, I'm a WordPress person, so I don't know how to do it in Joomla, but I'm sure you can do it in Joomla. I basically set up a custom field type where it's the name so it can pull in all of my past clients. So that way I can pre-select them. And again, everything's going to match beautifully because I'm always, by pre-selecting, I know I've typed it in exactly how I typed it in the first time, so there's going to be a nice match. And so off we go. They're put into, I happen to use Harvest for my invoicing and time tracking. I use Dropbox, Slack channel, Teamwork for my to-do. It's kind of like Basecamp. And as I said, it's time tracking and it's also invoicing. So I have to first create the client profile and then I create the project underneath it. All of it done. And the example I'm going to show you is Dropbox, which has been wonderful. I happen to use Gravity Forms in WordPress. You guys have your own. They connect with Zapier. What you're going to do is using Zapier, you're going to first connect your form to Zapier. Then you're going to connect your Dropbox to Zapier. And then, every single time, it's going to go in Mozak Active Design, client name. And now I've got it so it's a subdirectory. So it's Active Design, client name, subdirectory, project name. Do you know how clean my Dropbox is? It's like client 1, project 2, client 2, project 1, project 2. I know where to find things. My team knows where to find things. It's consistent. It's beautiful. Because no longer, when you do it yourself, you're just like, ugh, I'll just stash it. And it starts being here and there and everywhere. The second you start automating stuff, what you start doing is increasing the quality of the product you're creating at your agency, because you finally thought through, what is it going to look like when it walks through my process? And then you ensure your process happens each and every time. So it saves you time and it ups your quality. And to anyone who's used Zapier, I'm assuming, who knows Zapier in this room? Not as many hands. Go check it out. It's really cool. It's basically like an online hub where if an action creates a reaction. So submitting the form is an action, and once that happens, then you can react and push things out. So, and it basically connects with anything which is an online service provider. Cool stuff. So now we're going to do the work. We're going to wow the client. And let's get some more business, shall we? How can we use automation for this? What I'm going to show you now is really just a simple drip campaign. But it's a great one. We forget at the end of the project, we're so excited to be like, here, catch, I am done with this project. We forget that this is the moment the client's most excited. They just got their new website. They love you right now. You might be done with them, but they're in love with you. Let's use this. So what I'm going to do is simply use a tag that denotes the project's done, and then at month 1, I'm going to send them this email, testimonial. I'd be grateful if you take a moment to share your experiences, with others, so others like you can, know how wonderful we are. And here's a direct link to leave a Google review. Month 2. Now this is one of my favorite. This one's conditional because most of my clients now convert onto my care plans where we keep their software up to date and backed up and maintenance and security and all that grand stuff. But to those that are like, no, I'll do it myself. And all right, I'll poke fun at WordPress here. Although I'm thinking Joomla is similar, but WordPress is worse. I'll do it yourself. Okay, here's how you do it, right? So about month 2 is the perfect time to send the email that says, you've been keeping your site up to date, right? You've logged in, right? And they're like, shit, I gotta log in. So they log in and they're like, oh my God, 20 updates, the site might blow up. Ah. By the way, we'd be happy to take care of it for you so you can focus on your business. It's the reality, right? So most clients, I actually with care plans and maintenance set the expectation that we'll be continuing to take care of their investment ongoing from like day 1 of the contract. So most of my clients convert on to ongoing care plans. But for anyone who wants to do it themselves, I am happy to give them a step-by-step guide, no skin off my back, and I do. Here's how you do a backup, and here's how you go and update this, and here's how you go and update that, and here's how you go and update this, and make sure you check that. And oh, by the way, you should probably be updating weekly. And again, they look at it like, it's business. And it's good for them. I mean, I'm joking here this from our perspective of obviously income, but it's the reality of us staying in their lives. It's reality of us taking care of them, and it's a reality of us in protecting their investment. I mean, if they're going to spend multiple thousands of dollars on a site, it only makes sense. Plus, their time, it's like why I have a bookkeeper. Their time is best doing what they do best. Let us do what we do best. About month 3, ask for referrals. How often, who here actually asks for the referral? Got one hand. put out the ask. And that's what comes down to with a lot of these is asking for a review, asking for a referral. All of these things are like, oh shoot, I should. Automate it. It's done. At about 6 months in 1 year, you can do the happy birthdays. Can you believe it's been 6 months? Oh my gosh, happy birthday. Your website just had a birthday. Where has time flown? You're dropping into their lives through that year. So even if you're not in touch with them and doing much with them, you're in their world. And they'll think of you. And then month 9 is a filler, some sort of useful email. And I will tell you, the way I did these to set them up was I didn't necessarily write this all at once. What I instead did was I finally put a stake in the ground and said, I'm doing it for this client. And so I wrote the email, a one-on-one, very personal email. And I picked it up, and I put it in my mailing software and saved it. And then at month 2, I wrote it, and I picked it up, and I saved it. So you don't necessarily need to make more work for yourself when you're doing this. It's simply catching yourself doing it and saying, this is the time I'm going to go one step further. And then you just, there's no words for how amazing it is when all of a sudden, like, oh, I got another Google review. And like, I've completely forgotten that I set this up. And yet, off it goes. So this is just a quick picture of ActiveCampaign. Most of you have probably seen very similar. Again, the idea is you tag it, you wait, you send your email, you wait, and you just move through. This is my little conditional logic of don't, if they already are obviously on your maintenance plan, don't bother them with it. Either skip it or send them something else that's useful. And this is just basically you being in their lives, having touch points, keeping that warm and fuzzy going for the next year. I mean, we work very hard on our projects. We do try to create the most amazing site we can for our clients. Hopefully they love it, and this is us being in their world. So here's a couple other tips, because when I say cloning, this is really all about business, systems, processes, efficiencies. And so I thought I'd share a few others. One of which is declutter your inbox. Filters are your friends, start there. So, you know, if you're using Google, create filters for your different clients, just have it automatically out so you can quickly scan, you know, okay, I'm going to sit down and focus on this client, which emails do I need to pay attention to? And then this one is great, a ticket request form, which can be connected to a ticketing system. I actually have a form on my site as opposed to having it quickly go to like Teamwork Desk has a ticketing system, there's a few others. So instead of support at Mozak Design going directly in there because I might change my system, I actually like to have a request form on my site. And this is where we ask key questions. Urgency. This is a really useful question because you know how the sky is falling? Normal turnaround, 3 to 5 days. So basically what the person before said. Pressing. I sometimes do this, sometimes don't. But there's a fee involved. The sky is falling. No, urgent tickets incur a 2x rush fee or a $500 fee or whatever you want to add. Do you know the sky just doesn't fall anymore? Or when it's falling, it's something like, okay, there's been a hack or the site is down, at which point, as the provider, I just do it. I don't actually ever charge these. This is more setting the expectation of them sort of saying, okay, no, this really isn't the sky falling. Okay, fine. And like the person who spoke before, we usually do about a 2-day turnaround. This is more protecting, setting the expectation, and then you over-deliver. Additional project efficiency. Always use the same tool suite. Get to know whatever themes, extensions, whatever you do, always use the same one. You'll know it inside and out. You need a good foundation to build your sites with. Don't keep learning, and I don't know if Joomla is like this, WordPress is notorious for this, that there's 101 themes. Don't keep learning new themes. Just know the ones you know are robust. Know them inside and out and build with them. Have a seed site ready. For the longest time, and this was where I'd catch myself doing it, I'd be installing, the software. I'd be installing all my go-to extensions or plugins. I'd be installing all of this. It's a waste of time. So what I've created is essentially seed sites where I have, in my case, 3 different themes. So it's an installation that's clean. It's all got all my go-to software all deactivated. It's got I've got 3, core builders I use. So I have 3 core ones I have, and it's all set in there. And so when I get a new site, I simply pick that up. It's always kept up to date. Make a copy of it, and boom, we're ready to go. This ensures, again, consistency. It's all of our sites now are using our fundamental building blocks that we use across the board, and it saves time and it ensures quality. Only use hosts you know and love. Has anyone ever logged in and is like, where the heck is what I need? Right, so, yeah, so I only use the hosts I love, or there is going to be one heck of a pain and suffering fee attached, and sometimes I'm just not even willing to go there. So that is something to be aware of. You can lose a lot of time there. And you know, when we're looking at our projects and profitability, we do need to watch our time. And you know, I planted some seeds of automation. Your flow in your business may be different, but just continue to think about ways when you ever have something that can be broken out into a step-by-step, that usually means there's something that either a tool can do or someone other than you can execute if you choose to build a team. But if you can create a step-by-step system and process, you probably aren't the one who should be doing it in your business, especially as you scale if you choose to. So this is great. Where the heck do I begin? Well, I would begin where I started the presentation. Gmail canned emails. So simple. It's really nothing special, right? But at the same time, so powerful. When you are writing those emails, just save them. And then you just whip them out. After that, I would say the back-end nurturing is the next kind of no-brainer and powerful. And then in the middle is where you can get a little more clever and creative with some of the automation of the form and things like that, where you get them pulled in. But one thing I love to do is screen recording. So I've been slowly building up my systems and processes in my business. And I'm great with video. For example, how does one go from that seed site to the new building site? What I do is I use Loom, Loom.com, it's free. I record myself doing it once. You know, I log in here, I take this, I do this, I do this, I do this. It takes me all of, 15 minutes max. And it needed to be done anyways. Then what I do is I give it to a team member, like a front-end designer, who I'm going to want to do this in the future. And someone who, so full disclosure, my team is kind of global. I have both people in the US working for me, and I have people in India and the Philippines. So there's different pay grades going on here. That's the reality. And so as a result, what I'm able to do is I take this video, I give it to the person I want to learn it. Two things happen. One, they actually practice going through it so they know exactly what I'm expecting. They're being trained in that moment. Two, I have them produce it in a document. I have my very first SOP. It's a standard operating procedure. And so these things, documenting, building your systems, building all this stuff, it doesn't need to be a huge weight on your shoulder. You can remember where you add value in your company and where you can leverage other people who are part of your team, who your time is better spent doing other things, their time can be spent, or you can even outsource it to be transcribed. The point is, I would like to see people getting in the mindset of sort of how do things work in my business. Because as I said, a lot of us are, at least I know I'm an accidental business owner. I kind of let's freelance to growing to, oh my goodness, I have clients counting on me and I want to create a repeatable, consistent product. And to anyone who's grown and had team members, you figure out you better get things out of your head and on paper real quick once you start growing, because ultimately it's your business. And so don't just let someone you bring on define how things are going to work in your business. As the business owner, you really set how are we doing things around here. It can be collaborative. You don't need to micromanage everything, but really as a business owner, the buck stops with you. Automation, it's a bit like teaching your kids to tie their own shoes. I mean, it's a pain in the neck the first time. But here's the question, are you planning to go to college with your kids just to tie their shoes? Same thing, it takes that extra step. I wouldn't say invent the step, I would say when you're doing it next time, decide this is the time I'm going to capture what I'm doing. You're already setting up the development area, you're already writing the thank yous, you're already doing whatever it is you do in your business. Quality checking, how do we QA sites? Well, record yourself QAing a site. How do we check it across your devices and whatever? And start to build that out. The other great thing about these things when you either document and automate is you get this out of your head. We forget how much we're holding on and we have these moments of, oh shoot, did I? when you get it out of your head, you let it go, and then you almost have to have a checklist, like you know if you did it or didn't do it. It's surprisingly freeing, and it's the first step to being able to grow if you want to grow. You know, you've got to have this stuff in place to make the people you bring on your team successful, because if they don't know what's expected, how can they succeed? So here's some of the tools I use because I'm often asked. Zapier is what I mentioned. If this and that, both of those are kind of that connecting software online. Scheduling, I use BookMe. I got an AppSumo deal. I don't know if anyone knows AppSumo. It's good and bad all at the same time. It can save you money, but it's also kind of shiny object syndrome. It can cost you a lot of money. I got BookMe there and Better Proposals there. I used to use Proposal Supply, which I also like. It has a monthly fee. Better Proposals does now too. Active Campaign, you know, MailChimp. For invoicing and time tracking, I use Harvest. 17 Hats is great if you're a solo pro. Harvest is great because if you've got a team that is, you know, putting time towards different clients, it allows that to scale up. So that's been good. Teamwork, Basecamp, these are all kind of where we can track, and there's plenty of others out there. You know, what are the to-dos moving through a project? Slack has been great for internal team conversation. Skype we used to use, but then it was like, which project are we talking about? And so now each project gets a channel, and so you've got context. And that's been great. Dropbox, Google Drive, all the same, just give it some structure. It's going to be your best friend. I'm a WordPress person. Managed WP works similar to, what was the one you guys were mentioning? The way it works here.
Watchful.
What?
Watchfully.
Watchfully, yeah, exactly. So, you know, if you're managing sites, you're not going to be logging into each and every one. Just you have a HUD to kind of have a pulse on how things are going, and a schedule, of course, to how you're going to update them. And then I will highlight these two, although they are WordPress, I did leave them in for a reason. Probable Project Plan by Jennifer Bourne is really cool because it gives you a very clear kind of client correspondence in between the acceptance through the end of, like, we are in the design phase, we are in this phase, we are in the next phase. She's a prolific writer, a very good writer, a very conversational writer, and I got a lot of stuff that I could use out of that, and I think even though she has a WordPress business, websites are websites, design phase is design phase. And the WP Elevation by Troy Dean, again, a WordPress specific, however, that group is really great for the mindset shift of I'm a business owner. Instead of being like, oh, I'm just kind of doing this, really stepping into the fact that, no, I am a business owner creating a product that has value. I am more than just a technician at this point, especially if you've been doing this a few years. You are more than just a web builder. You have marketing expertise. You've grown in what you know, and that is your value beyond the product. The product is easy. It's all of the expertise and the things you bring to the table that are uniquely you, that really are what you're selling and the clients are buying. And that's me. I'm going to pause. I have some additional slides, but this is where I wanted to pause for questions, because yeah, that's what I figured for time. Any questions? Yes?
I have a couple. It's really good. Really good. Why Active Campaign is my first question. Did you try, we've been using MailChimp for a long time, and we're actually thinking about switching to Active Campaign. Just kind of curious what your thoughts on Active Campaign.
So MailChimp has come a long way. So I think it's probably, if I were to start over again, I'd start there because it's cheaper. I think it's like free for a while. I really wanted the tags. So I wanted those knobs, and MailChimp didn't have them as easily at the time. They do now. So I think I would stick with that. I know Active Campaign has a CRM as a higher level. I have no desire to pay for it, so I can't speak to whether it's good or not.
Okay. All right.
Hey, you know, there's only so many pennies. Next question, yes?
When people open tickets, they have to do it through interface, or they can just go send you an email?
Right, so I have them use the interface. That's where, again, it's all about training your client. And the older clients are the hardest to train, but reiterating that this is the way we do things. This allows you, instead of it being in your inbox, let's envision you're growing. Or let's envision, for example, if a ticket always came to me, I'll disclose even more about what's going on here with me right now. I'm going through breast cancer right now. This is not my hair. The wonderful thing about all this automation, the fact that it goes through these forms, all these things, I can have things sent and maneuvered to the right person. So I have documented systems and processes, so it's very clear to my team if they're picking up for me how we're doing things. I have other peers in the business that if they need to come in and support me, they can see how to support me and how I would want things done. Getting it out of my mailbox, even for any of us, you want to go on vacation. Who's covering for you? Route it over there and then route it back to where you want it. It gives you that ability, and then yes, just get it out of your inbox. It's good for your own mental health. But I will say, in an sort of endorsement of reoccurring revenue and of automation, what I'm going through right now, it is amazing to me that I could not show up and my business is still making money and is still running. It may not be growing in the sense of bringing in new leads, but I have all those maintenance plans that I know my team is covered. I know the income I get from those exceed what the team costs me, and so I know that is covered. I know my clients are covered. If any of us are just on our own and we're hit by a bus, what happens? Do we all have the file that says what happens if we're hit by a bus, so that way our spouses can jump in and figure out what to do with this, or someone can, I know. I know, and there's the infinite thing, but yeah. One thing that really helped me with getting the system and process mindset, there's a great book called Built to Sell, and it's talking about the reality of, can you sell your job? You don't even want it some days. A job is not sellable. But a business is sellable, where you have systems and processes and repeatable things. And so that mindset means that all of the work you're doing today, you might just have a product at the end. You might actually build something that you could sell. I have clients that I used to be hands-on for, and now between my project manager and the front-end developer, they just do it, and I send out the invoice and take my percentage, and I'm like, this is just wild. Someone would buy that. That's what a business is. Any other questions? Yep.
Have you looked at anything like chat bots or AI integrations for scheduling and all that kind of stuff?
I haven't looked at chat bots and all of that. I mean, this works fine because they just pick a time. That's more for just kind of, are you saying just kind of even more sort of instant communicate? Because it require someone on the other, well, the bot doesn't.
The bot, yeah, I mean, you can do like a lot of the questions about your project, what kind of, cost you have in mind in terms of a budget, or what kind of features does it need to have, or
right.
Have a contact form, is it going to have?
Yeah, and so
like all that
those type of questions, this is interesting. So that's what I have sort of on that project request, where it's
right.
going to ask them what's your budget and all that stuff. You can also add on any of your forms conditional logic to display and not display. And you can control, if you ask, there's a fine line in forms, we all know, between like too many questions and not enough questions. And so you don't want it to have like so many that they're just like, screw this, right? So you can do that, and then potentially do a, before our next meeting, can you also now do this next form? So you kind of have gotten them in the door on the schedule, so if you're like, okay, they didn't do my form, but that's a really nice budget, I kind of want to talk to them. I'll let it slide, they didn't do their homework. But yeah, I mean, you can totally do that, it's just a matter of setting it up. But again, it's one of those things where once you set it up, it's done. Yes?
And Jocelyn, I'm not sure how to ask the question, but at some point, automation is great up to a certain point. So is there a kind of rule of thumb that you go from automation to personalized?
I think it's
or it goes, you could just go by with the feel of it, or you could just...
Yeah, I mean, there's no real answer there. I would say it's really in how you write your automation, and I found this has worked well for me. I literally take the email I just sat down and wrote. And as a result, this is actually how I do my newsletters. I don't have the mindset of I'm writing to 1 million people. I have the mindset that I'm talking to one person. And so I write in that energy, and so when they receive it, that automation actually doesn't feel generalized. It feels pretty specific because it's been written in the energy of talking to a person. And I find my newsletters, I get like people writing me back, which blows me away, because it's written in that very personal one-to-one energy. Yes, there is a point where obviously it stops. Some of the stuff in Jennifer Bourne's program, actually, I choose not to automate because I'm not that rigid in how I work through my business. She has it a little bit more set up of like, we are in this phase, we are in that phase, we're in that phase. I'm a more fluid person, so I kind of, I don't know, I just kind of go with the flow through the project. So there, as you said, there are places that make sense and places where it doesn't. And I think you naturally know when you've hit those
It
lines.
depends on the type of business, of course, you're in.
Yeah,
but-
that too. But I think you naturally know when you've hit lines of too many special cases or whatever, you're in those gray areas. But then you can step back and say, what of this can I generalize? Because you don't want every client to be a special case. I mean, in business, the more you can find your sweet spot, actually the better you'll do profitability-wise, because you know how to bid those projects. If every project is a special case, you're constantly on that learning curve of trying to figure out, did I estimate enough? But when you know that sweet spot, you can, and that will help you a lot with your estimates too. I can crank out estimates because I know exactly my typical client, how long it will take. There was one other question I saw, yes?
What was the name of that book? That was
Built to sell,
Built to Sell, okay.
And there's also-
No, there was another one, I thought.
work the system. Do I still have, let me see, actually, oh, hold on. Did you want this page?
Which one, the one you were just saying, Jennifer Bourne, Profitable
Project Plan.
That was the one.
Yeah, and then I think I have my book somewhere. I deleted that slide. Okay.
And the other question I had was,
Back to that. These are in my slides, so you guys will get access to them. There we go.
the other question I had was with automation, obviously, we're all trying to set up more automation. Do you find that clients are asking you for help with that? And are you actually working with your clients to help them set up automation?
So the answer to that is no, nothing much.
Okay.
However, I have suddenly this new side business I didn't expect as a result of giving this talk.
Yeah.
And I have now a lot of So I actually coach freelancers as well. One of the things I've moved into after doing this for 11 years is business coaching, is helping. Really what I'm finding is people I tend to work at are the ones who sort of want to have the grown-up agency. They're kind of like, okay, I've been doing this for a while. I want to really step into feeling kind of like we do for our clients. So the grown-up website is that feeling of I want to professionalize to the next level. And so I am coaching quite a few people, and I've been getting that question about, you're going to do a class. So this is kind of an accidental thing for me, where it came from that one form. I submitted the one talk in the fall, and this talk has been accepted all over, and I evidently tripped over something that I now need to figure out what I'm going to do with. So you can obviously reach out to me at any time. I kind of geek out over this stuff, and I'm really good at breaking problems down to any of you. Oh, there's my email. So you've got my email. You can find me on social media, on Twitter. I'd be more than happy to hop on a Zoom call and brainstorm. Any other questions? We're mostly at time, but I think good. All right. Oops, we got one.
Can we get these slides?
Yeah, are you on? I was gonna pop them on Twitter unless, does that work? Yeah, I'm just gonna post a link to the slides.
Okay, awesome.
And then to any WordPress people, I also have how I do the cloning using WP Engine. I realize that's probably not relevant to 99% of this room, but if there's one person, enjoy it. Then you will actually very much like that thing it links to. I'll link you over to my blog post then.
Awesome.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.